Have you ever really stopped to think about the food on your plate? I mean, not just where you bought it, but where it really came from, like thousands of years ago? Well, today, we're going to trace that incredible journey all the way back to the very seeds of civilization.
Okay, let's just jump right in with a classic, right? How did a potato, a plant from the Andes Mountains in South America of all places, end up being the food we all associate with Ireland, an entire ocean away? And, well, the answer is, it's complicated, and it's actually part of a way bigger story.
See, that potato's whole journey is tangled up in this one idea that popped up about 12,000 years ago, an idea that completely changed everything. It was that moment we, as a species, stopped just finding food and started growing it, on purpose. This was the first agricultural revolution, and believe me, it didn't just change our dinner menus, it literally changed who we are.
All right, so let's go back, way back, to the very first farms and see where it all began.
So to really get this, we need to talk about a key concept, the agricultural hearth. Now, what is that? Basically, think of it like a cradle of farming. It's a place where, totally on their own, with no one telling them how, people figured out how to domesticate their local plants and animals. It happened completely independently. Now, what's so cool about this, and what you're seeing here, is that this wasn't just some one-off thing. It happened all over the world, completely separately. You've got wheat and sheep over in the Fertile Crescent. Then in Southeast Asia, it's rice and pigs. And jump over to Central America, and they're figuring out maize, beans, and turkeys. Totally different people, totally different plants, but the same brilliant idea.
Okay, so if these were all local inventions, how did farming go global? That's the next piece of the puzzle, an idea on the move.
It really spread in a few major ways. First up, you've got trade and expansion. Merchants weren't just carrying goods, they were carrying seeds, and just as importantly, the knowledge of how to grow them. Then there was migration and conquest. When people moved, you better believe they brought their farming practices right along with them. And finally, a huge factor was new technology. Things like irrigation and the plow, these were game changers that let people farm in totally new areas that were off limits before.
So for literally thousands of years, all these farming systems were pretty much growing in their own little bubbles. But then, something happened. A moment that connected them all in the most dramatic way you can possibly imagine. This is when worlds collided.
Yeah, back in the 15th and 16th centuries, when European explorers connected the Americas with Europe, Africa, and Asia for the very first time, it sparked something we now call the Columbian Exchange. And this wasn't just some small event. It might be the single most important event in the entire history of our food.
And this right here, this just shows you the sheer scale of it all. I mean, look, from the Americas, you get these world-changing crops like corn and, you guessed it, the potato. And coming to the Americas, things that would completely redefine life there, wheat, cattle, and maybe most importantly, the horse. It was literally a complete remix of the planet's biology.
And the impact was just massive. So what does this all mean? Well, those super nutritious crops from the Americas, like the potato, they went back to Europe and fueled a huge population boom. Meanwhile, back in the Americas, the horse showed up and totally transformed everything for indigenous societies on the plains. Hunting, transportation, you name it. The entire world was changed, forever.
Which brings us, after all that, right up to today. Your plate, 12,000 years later. We're connecting all that history to the supermarket.
Just look at this timeline for a second. You can see how the pace of change just went into overdrive. I mean, you have the slow, steady burn of those first farms for thousands of years. Then, bam, the Columbian Exchange in the 1500s. And after that, the railroad in the 1800s and refrigeration in the 1900s. Suddenly, you could move fresh food across entire continents and oceans. The game completely changed. And that's really the big takeaway here. This massively interconnected global network we have, it's the foundation of our entire modern food system. But it wasn't built overnight. It was built over millennia. From those first lonely little farms to that great global food swap, all the way to modern tech. You know, that potato in Ireland? It's just one tiny story out of millions.
So think about that. It took us over 10,000 years to build the system we have right now. Which leaves us with one last pretty big question to chew on. With all the new challenges and incredible technologies we have today, what on earth are we going to build in the next 100 years?